What's up, and welcome to another episode of Movie Pitch Monday. This is a show where I pitch hypothetical movie ideas. In the past, I've done Back to the Future 4, Miles Morales Spider-Man, A Quieter Place, Ready Player 2, and a bunch of other ones. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Edward Mullen. I'm an author, most notably the Art of the Hustle series, the PRODIGY series, and some other books. So in today's pitch, I'm going to be doing a pitch for a Nightwing TV series. Now, I know that there's a Teen Titans, or it's just called Titans, that's coming to Netflix. I literally just watched the trailer an hour ago. I didn't know that it existed prior to me kind of preparing for this pitch. I'm glad. My pitch is very different, and I think, in my opinion, I'm obviously biased. I think it's a little bit stronger than what they're doing. Some of the things I didn't like what I saw. I thought they cast, no offense to the young man playing Nightwing, but I thought they cast him wrong. I mean, that's not what Nightwing looks like in my head. I got another guy for that named Charles Melton. He kind of looks the part in at least what I have in my head, and I think he's very physically active, and so if he can kind of learn some fight choreography, he might be a good pick for this role. So in today's pitch, I'm going to be pitching an entirely different storyline, Nightwing TV series. So without further ado, this is my Nightwing pitch. Okay, so some of this stuff is going to follow the comics. In particularly, the story is going to take place 2 years post, Dick Grayson. By the way, I'm not going to call him Dick throughout this whole thing, and I think in the TV show, I don't want to call him Dick either. His initials are DG, so let's just agree to call him Diggy. That's like his nickname. So it's like post Robin. He's, Dick Grayson, if you don't know the backstory, was part of the Flying Graysons, this kind of trapeze act, and his parents got murdered. Well, his parents died, and he was a young boy, and Bruce Wayne kind of took him under his wing and raised him, and he became Robin. He was the first Robin. There's been other Robins. I believe he was Batman at a certain point in time when Bruce Wayne is thought to be dead. He donned the cape and cowl, and there is a storyline where they have kind of a falling out where Bruce, I think Nightwing, this is from my memory, Nightwing is, kind of messing around with college and the Teen Titans and maybe with girls or whatever. And Batman was like, hey man, we're at war and I need your total devotion. And this is not something that you seem to be that devoted to. So he actually fires Diggy, let's call him, fires Robin. So my pitch is basically going to follow the same storyline. So it's post that event. We pick up season 1, episode 1. We see a young Diggy. Well, he's not young. He's like maybe 22 or whatever, 24, something like that. And he's, teaching a martial arts school, kind of like in Iron Fist. I know that's very similar to Iron Fist, but just go with me on this one. So he's teaching kids in a class, and he's teaching them about honor and discipline. And, he hasn't been Robin for 2 years. He hasn't seen Batman or Bruce Wayne in 2 years. And, the kids are asking him like, hey man, have you even been in a real fight? And he goes, yeah, I have been in a real fight. So, the stuff that I'm teaching you actually works. That stuff that you see in TV and movies, that doesn't work in real street fights. I'm teaching you like how to protect yourself, and the stuff that I'm teaching you is very powerful. And, we're the good guys. We're not bullies. We use this to, have for discipline and to build our self-esteem and build confidence, for self-defense. But we never use this, hopefully we'll never have to use this kind of stuff, right? So he's teaching his class. It's in kind of a rundown part of the neighborhood because he's left Bruce Wayne. He doesn't have any money. He's kind of figuring out his own stuff. He's finished college. He's got super intellect. And he's decided to kind of teach the youth. It's like kind of noble work. And it's in a, rundown part of town. He lives in a rundown part of town. He doesn't have any help. He's not in contact with Alfred or any of the maids or whatever. He's just kind of on his own. He's got this chip on his shoulder, this resentment, and he's just trying to survive. And he doesn't really know that kind of next transition in his life. He's just, I'm going to teach these kids martial arts until an opportunity presents itself. Okay, so after class, Diggy pulls this young kid aside. He's maybe like 8 or 9 or whatever, and he asks him like, hey Bobby, where's your brother? I haven't seen him around. His brother, let's say he's like 13 or whatever, and they used to come to the studio together. So the kid's like, he's just been busy with school or whatever. Now, Diggy, as we're calling Dick Grayson, Diggy has super intellect. He knows this kid is lying. So he goes, you know what? Let me walk you home today, right? And the kid goes, oh, okay, cool. So they're walking up to their building. Again, rough part of town. This is Gotham City, rough part of town. And there's some homies, some like gangbangers outside, tattoos. They look kind of badass. And so the kid stops, a block away. He sees them and he goes, actually, you know what? I forgot something back at the studio. Like, let me grab it. Again, Diggy knows this kid's lying. He looks up ahead. He's like, oh, are those guys? You're afraid of those guys? No. We're not afraid of anybody. Come on, let's go. So he walks up to the building, parts through these guys who are kind of like mean mugging him. And he escorts this kid upstairs, and he goes, the door opens, and it's like maybe like a Puerto Rican family or something. You got like the mom cooking in the kitchen, screaming in some other language and yelling and like, hey, close the door, where have you been, hey, set the table, I told you to do this, blah 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 blah. It's like a chaotic household, right? Maybe the grandma's there or whatever. And so the kid, like the older brother, makes eye contact with Diggy, who's now standing in the doorway with his little brother. And he sees he's got like a black eye. He goes, hey man, come here. He's like, how'd you get this black eye? He goes, I'm just baseball. He's like, come on, man. Like, what's with this family lying to me, right? So he's like, did those guys downstairs do this to you? He goes, no, don't worry about it. He goes, come here. So he takes the two brothers, takes them downstairs. This is like opening act, season 1, episode 1. Takes these guys downstairs, the two brothers, and he goes up to these 5 dudes, like these rough-looking gangbangers. He goes, hey man, did you do this? Did you touch my brother? Because these guys are my brothers, right? And let me tell you something. If you mess with them, you mess with me. And trust me, you don't want to mess with me. So it's this really kind of like goosebumps moment. You're like, oh, damn, this guy is so badass. And so these guys are like, what in the hell did you say to me? So they all stand up. They're like maybe sitting on a stoop. They all stand up. They all surround him. And they're like, yo, you better come correct, man. Like, you better check yourself, because I know you didn't just come up to us and, act tough, because, we'll take you out right now. So then he goes, oh yeah, cool. So maybe they pull out like knives, and one of them's got a gun. So Diggy's like, hey kids, go back inside. I'm gonna take care of these guys. And then they're like, you're not gonna take care of anything. So Diggy stands back, takes out 2 batons out of his, like, maybe he's got them stuffed down his, like, the back of his pants, takes them out. He's like, all right, who's first? And they're looking at him like, this guy's out of his mind. This guy's crazy. And they're like, you know what? I can't be dealing with this guy. This guy's a lunatic. So they just kind of walk away. Diggy goes to the 2 brothers and he's like, hey man, like, we can't live in fear. That's just not acceptable. You let me know if these guys ever mess with you again, okay? And they're like, oh yeah, for sure. Like, they're like super pumped, right? All right, so it cut to like later that night. We see Diggy at the club. Maybe he pulls up on like a motorcycle. He's got like a badass like leather jacket, a helmet. It's just like all in black. Parks his bike, takes his helmet off, and he like walks into the club. Now this guy's a very handsome guy, and he's got a little bit of swagger. Goes into the club, he's dancing. Girls are paying attention to him. He's got one like gorgeous, model type girl like all over him, kissing him, and he's kind of focusing on her, but keeping an eye on a table across the way, which has a bunch of like these gangbangers. Now, he knows they're all part of the Red Hood gang. They all have like similar tattoos or markings on them, right? So he's kind of keeping an eye on them, and that's kind of the reason why he's at that club, not with this girl. Nevertheless, he's a young man, a man of temptation, if you will. So I would then cut to like a montage of them like leaving back at her place, maybe like a sex montage, like kissing, and maybe there's a shower scene or whatever. And then as the story kind of catches up in real time, the girl's kind of passed out on the bed or whatever, and he's like putting on his shirt and he's like leaving, and he goes back to his apartment, on his bike, and it looks really cool. He goes back to his apartment. He's got a 2-bedroom apartment, and one of the rooms is set up for like his crime fighting, if you will. So he's taken 2 years off as Robin, and it doesn't necessarily make sense for him to be Robin anymore, but he's still kind of kept his finger on the pulse of what's happening in Gotham. There's like cork boards with like people's pictures on it and strings and all that kind of stuff, and there's newspaper clippings. The whole room is decked out in like, it's like a crime lab. Well, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, he's at the computer. It's dark. He's like basking in the glow of like a monitor. Maybe he's got like 3 or 4 monitors or whatever, and he's listening to the recording because he's bugged. He's placed like a listening device under the table of the club, and he's listening to these gangsters and kind of getting intel on them, right? Okay, so it's the next day, and Diggy's teaching some lesson in his dojo. going over some drills, and wouldn't you know, these 5 homies from the day before show up. No, they got the neck tattoos, and they, they're not there to chat. They're looking to kind of embarrass him or hurt him or humiliate him, right? So they kind of barge in, they're tipping stuff over, they're causing a commotion. The class is, a lot of little kids, so they scatter to the sides. A lot of the older kids, like 17, 18, they stand with their dude. They stand with Diggy. They're like, yo, we ride with you, right? So these guys, so Diggy's like, no, like, stay back, right? I got this. So the kids kind of stand down, they stand to the sides, and Diggy's standing by himself. The 5 dudes surround him, and he kind of cracks his neck or whatever. He's like, I need the practice. So these guys attack him, and we see a beautiful display, a ballet of violence, if you will, and he just beats the brakes off these guys, like, pretty easily. Like, it would be like, think of like Anderson Silva or like a George St. Pierre. I don't know if you watch MMA, but picture like one of those guys fighting like me. I mean, it's just like so easy for this guy, and he is beating them with no weapons, and they have weapons, and they're like maybe going to the wall. They're grabbing the staffs, the sticks, maybe some nunchucks, and they're coming at him. It doesn't matter. He just beats them all up, and they're all just laying there wounded. And all his students are like, "Oh my God, like, you're amazing." Now, these guys get up and they run out. They've been humiliated. And out of the corner of Diggy's eye, he sees Bruce Wayne standing in the corner. Now, I heard a rumor that John Hamm wants to be Batman. Well, guess what, John Hamm? You get to be Batman. But there's a catch. I don't actually put you in the cape and cowl. You're basically Bruce Wayne for the entire season. I might bring in Batman later, but for season 1, let's just keep you as Bruce Wayne. And this is kind of playing into the storyline. So Diggy walks over and this is the first time he's seen him in like 2 years, and Bruce Wayne has like a cane and he's limping, right? And maybe Alfred is there and they exchange pleasantries or whatever. So he goes, what happened to your leg? He's like, I fell, right? And he goes, look, man, the city needs you. There's things at play here that are like getting out of hand. We need a crime fighter. Gotham needs you, right? And he's basically implying that, like, he's injured, he can't be Batman, maybe he's getting on in age, and he wants to pass the torch to Diggy, to like Dick Grayson. He's like, look, man, I know that we had a falling out, but that's only because you were like subordinate to me. You were my Robin, like you were Robin to my Batman, but now you get to be Batman. I'm gonna like give everything to you. And isn't that what you always wanted? And he's like, no, I never wanted to be Batman. Like, I just wanted to be as your equal, right? And I'm a grown man. I don't want to be in like Robin forever, right? So he's like, all right, cool. He's like, all right, well, look, Bruce, it was nice seeing you, but I got a class to get back to, right? So then as he's leaving, Bruce goes, hey, maybe come by the manor sometime. And Diggy goes, yeah, maybe I will. So I think that would be kind of where I would leave it. Batman would be kind of like, or Bruce Wayne would kind of be like the reveal at the end of the episode. And this is kind of a teaser. Season 1, episode 1, we see a little bit of the character. We see, his fight skills. He's grown up, a little bit of his kind of motivation. Not fully his motivation, I'll get to that, but like, he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. We see some spectacular fight scenes. We see kind of how he's living. We see some of his bravery, some of his good-heartedness, some of his espionage. So I'm really kind of establishing this character. Later, I would have him, as the season plays out, I wouldn't have him be Nightwing until like episode 4 or 5. And I think the Red Hood gang is kind of prominent in this season, and it's maybe brought to his attention from Alfred, which is actually a storyline that they actually did in one of the books. Alfred finds some information that the Red Hood gang is actually, responsible for his death, like the death of his parents, the Flying Graysons. So I'd maybe play into that storyline. He's doing research and he wants to take these guys down, but and maybe some of his students he learns are like part of the gang, and so there's that. Then he goes, in one of the episodes, he goes to like, the Wayne Manor. I think that'd be a cool scene, like this beautiful mansion, probably filmed in my hometown of Vancouver. I'm assuming they'd film it at UBC, which is the same building they used for the Lex Luthor Manor. So something like that, some like stone mansion. It looks cool, trust me. So he goes up to the house, Alfred's there, Bruce is there, and he's like, look, I want back in, right? Let's squash whatever kind of beef we have. And he's like, perfect, like, what do you need from me? He's like, well, I need a new suit. I need some intel. I need some gadgets, maybe a mobile. Maybe he gets his own mobile. Or maybe just keep it like the bike. and you know, we should work together, right? And he goes, okay, here's my like chief mechanic and like costume designer. His name's Harold. Go see it, pay him a visit. He'll do your measurements. He'll get you a new suit. Like, have you picked out a name yet? He goes, I'm thinking about a couple. I'll let you know when it's finalized or something. I don't know. I'd probably write something better, but it'd be some cool thing. Like, I don't know. So anyway, so in the season finale, what I would do, so I'd build up this kind of season with him, hooking up with girls and him being kind of a young Batman, him, got his costume, he's out fighting crime, he's piecing things together, he's busting criminals, bringing them to justice. Maybe a studio gets like burned down or whatever, I don't know. And so the season finale, he's tracked down the leader of the Red Hood gang. I believe his name is Red Hood. And I don't know, maybe he's like on top of a roof, or he's maybe there's like a shipping container. I know we have that in Vancouver, which I'm assuming it'd be filmed here. And Nightwing shows up and there's this big showdown. There's like maybe 10 Red Hood gang dudes and then the main guy, Red Hood, and Nightwing's by himself. Maybe some of his kids are there, I don't know, like some of his students, and he's fighting the Red Hood, and it's pretty epic battle. And the other people are they're ganging up on him, right? And next thing you know, Batman shows up. Oh my God, season finale. Batman shows up, and the two of them kind of work hand in hand, Batman and Robin, if you will. And so Red Hood gets away, but they kind of beat up everybody else, and they, tie them up. They call Commissioner Gordon, and these guys get arrested, and they stop this shipment of like this drug coming into the city. And Batman takes off before the commissioner can get there, kind of giving Nightwing his like shine, right? He's like, hey man, you did all this. And this is really kind of Nightwing's coming out party, and now Gotham City has a new hero. So as the series plays out, I wouldn't necessarily do Batman villains. Like I wouldn't put Penguin and Joker or Bane or whatever. I would just make up my own new villains, and it would be villains that Nightwing can beat. I don't want to have some like crazy guy with powers or whatever. No powers. I don't like powers. I want to make it seem like realistic and real. And as the kind of series plays out, he's uncovering clues and like getting closer and closer to the truth of who murdered his parents. He realizes their death wasn't an accident. And maybe later on in the series, like he realizes his dad is still alive, or he has an uncle or something. I don't know. I haven't really thought that far, but there it is. That's my Nightwing TV pitch, starring Charles Melton and John Hamm. And yeah, let me know what you think, and leave a comment in the comment section. If you like my pitches, please subscribe to my channel. I've got a bunch of them, and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.